The Geet Ruler Episode Number 108 Explanation. The blood pike swept down along with a sharp wind as it ruthlessly aimed towards Mu Chen's head. The attack was extremely vicious. Mu Chen's pupils turned cold at the same time as black lightning instantly surged out of his body. He tightly clenched his fist as lightning flickered on it when he threw a punch towards the blood pike. Dang! A metallic collision resounded as sparks flew. The fist and pike clashed as an astonishing fluctuation spread out. Mu Chen and Shui Qiando's figures jolted before flying away. Mu Chen tapped his foot on the air as he stabilized his figure. He had an indifferent expression as he stared at Shui Qiando before him as killing intent vaguely surged in his eyes. "Ha ha, your eyesight is pretty good," Shui Qiando said as he glanced at the black tortoise seal in the light. Shui Qiando was similarly a successor and thus, he naturally knew some info as well. The black tortoise seal was the most powerful treasure amongst the 10 treasures. Therefore, his choice was the same as Mu Chen's. Mu Chen indifferently looked at him as the devouring dragon demonic spear appeared in his hand, before a baleful aura surged as he gripped it. He pointed the sharp end of the spear tip towards Shui Qiando as he smiled. "You've not been pleasing to my eyes since long ago. Seems like I no longer have to endure it. Are you sure you're not seeking shame yourself?" A mockery smile appeared on the corner of Shui Qiando's lips. "I believe you still don't have that qualification," Mu Chen said honestly. The corner of Shui Qiando's lips twitched as his eyes gradually turned cold. The hand that he used to hold onto the blood pike had veins popping out. Shortly after, the smile on his face gradually turned savage as he stomped his foot on their air. His figure mysteriously disappeared. The instant Shui Qiando disappeared, a dragon image flickered beneath Mu Chen's feet as he had appeared at the side of the pillar in an instant. The devouring dragon demonic spear in his hand drew a tricky angle as he stabbed towards the left side of the pillar at lightning speed. Ding! The blood pike shot out from that direction as it clashed with the devouring dragon demonic spear. Sparks flew as the surrounding air exploded from the impact. "If you want to snatch the treasure, defeat me first." Mu Chen smiled as he looked at the figure that had appeared on the left side. "There isn't any better option." Shui Qiando coldly laughed as he stomped his feet. Boundless scarlet-red spiritual energy surged out from his body like a tidal wave as it instantly occupied half of the sky. A powerful spiritual energy pressure was unleashed towards Mu Chen. Rumble. Black lightning frantically flickered on the surface of Mu Chen's body. On his chest, 5 lightning runes appeared. Clearly, he had used the lightning god's physique. Great power filled his limbs, causing the powerful spiritual energy pressure to lose effect. Rustle. The 2 figures flew out at the same time, along with sounds of wind breaking, as earth-shattering spear images clashed against the blood pike with boiling spiritual energy. It was like torrential rain as they clashed. Ding! Ding! Everyone could only hear the metallic sounds ringing as they clashed, as well as the waves of rampant fluctuations. The 2 figures, however, were especially blurry to watch. No one dared to step foot in that region. Even those that wanted to seize the treasure had to avoid. Ding! Spear tip and pike tip clashed as neither was prepared to give an inch. Under the 2 powerful forces, even the spear and pike seemed vaguely curved. However, they were straightened in the next instant as the air exploded. The 2 figures were jolted back several steps. Shui Qiando's face was frozen cold. Mu Chen's physical body was indeed powerful. Even if he had the upper hand in terms of spiritual energy compared to Mu Chen, the latter could make use of his powerful physical body to compensate for it. Seems like ordinary methods would be useless to deal with this fellow. Blood God's palm. As he pondered, Shui Qiando's fist suddenly stretched out as formless bloody light gathered in his palm as he pushed his palm forward. A blood palm with the size of a few hundred feet was like thunderclouds as it shrouded Mu Chen along with concentrated reek of blood spreading out. Mu Chen's eyes flickered as he clenched his fist. Black lightning frantically sparked as his entire arm became black in color, giving off a feeling as if it could conquer everything before one. Thunder God's fist. He threw the fist out as it carried a long TGE roar of thunder as it clashed against the blood palm. Boom! Wild spiritual energy spread out as they caused even the space to start twisting. When the surrounding people saw their confrontation, their faces couldn't help changing. Even a late-phase spiritual energy expert would be in a terrible state at this level of confrontation. For God's constellation scripture. Destroying the blood palm with his fist, Mu Chen did not retreat as he formed seals with his hand. Powerful spiritual energy swept out as a starry sky appeared behind him. For beasts took form as they charged towards Shueqiando in an instant. Petty tricks. Shueqiando coldly smiled as he suddenly spreaded both his hands out. Boundless spiritual energy formed into a bloody screen as it descended before him. The four beasts were submerged as they charged into the bloody screen and quickly dissipated. Mu Chen lightly smiled at the scene as his figure suddenly disappeared. When he appeared, he was already before the black tortoise seal. Before you defeat me, stay your hands. Shueqiando's gaze turned cold at the sight of him as he sent a palm out. The blood palm descended on Mu Chen's head. Mu Chen narrowed both his eyes as the devouring dragon demonic spear suddenly stabbed forward. The spear lifted the black tortoise seal as the body of the spear trembled, sending the black tortoise seal flying away. Rustle. When the black tortoise seal flew up, Shueqiando's eyes flickered as he had turned into bloody shadow, appearing before the black tortoise seal before Mu Chen. He made a grab towards the seal as he coldly smiled. Thanks a lot, seems like this treasure is unfated for you. His smile had only been maintained for an instant, before his face changed. He could feel that the black tortoise seal had suddenly become heavy when it landed in his hands. The feeling was as if he was lifting the mountains with his bare hands. Not only did his body feel heavy, even the spiritual energy within his body slowed down. You're welcome. Mu Chen's mocking voice resounded before him. Mu Chen mysteriously appeared before Shueqiando as lightning flickered on his palm as he slapped Shueqiando's chest at lightning speed. A violent wind tore the space as Shueqiando's face changed. His sleeves trembled as a wooden bell flew out as it instantly expanded in size before him. Boom! Mu Chen's palm heavily clashed against the wooden bell as it caused the bell to ring. Sound waves spread out, causing the air in this area to continuously shatter. The wooden bell rapidly flew back into Shueqiando's sleeve under Mu Chen's palm. What a pity! Mu Chen sighed in his heart. Before refining the black tortoise seal, one would only feel pressure from coming in contact with it. That was the reason why he would send the black tortoise seal flying away earlier, because he wanted Shueqiando to go after it. And as he had wished, the latter fell for his trap. If Shueqiando did not have the wooden spiritual bell, he would have been wounded by Mu Chen in that attack earlier. What a good scheme! Shueqiando's face was dark as he had reflected. His palm trembled as he sent the black tortoise seal flying once again. The instant the black tortoise seal left his hand, the pressure instantly disappeared. He coldly looked at Mu Chen as rage filled his eyes. He was actually tricked by that fellow. Since you're seeking death, I'll let you have a taste of spirit disaster. Shueqiando suddenly clenched both his fists as a torrential blood sea formed behind him. Both of his eyes turned red as concentrated bloodlust appeared on his face. Blood God Law, Blood Dragon Suppression. Shueqiando's scarlet-red fingers pointed at Mu Chen as the bloody sea frantically rolled. It had actually turned into a ferocious bloody dragon as it brought along a strong smell of blood. It tore through the horizon as a colossal shadow shrouded a few hundred feet around Mu Chen. It had sealed off Mu Chen's path of retreat. Clearly, Shueqiando had pushed his strength of first-grade spirit disaster to the limits. It was even more powerful compared to the puppet Mu Chen had encountered in the spiritual treasure mountain. As the blood god suppression charged over, Mu Chen's charming face was filled with graveness. However, he did not have the intention to dodge. He deeply inhaled a mouthful of air as the lightning on the surface of his body suddenly grew stronger. The black light had a faint green light mixed within it. It was as if the lightning runes were growing out of his body and onto his arm. Those lightning runes were black in color as they filled every single corner of his right arm. Black lightning seemed as if it had formed into a liquid as it slowly circulated on his arm. An unspeakable power was being emitted at this instant, causing even the space to be twisted. Arm of the lightning god. Mu Chen took a step forth as lightning flickered in his black pupils. He threw a fist forward as the lightning liquid on his arm contained tens of thousands of lightning bolts as it heavily clashed with the incoming bloody dragon. Boom! As the two forces clashed, the entire region was silent for an instant. Thereafter, everyone could see fine cracks appear on the space. Thereafter, a fearsome fluctuation swept out, causing those nearby to fly away. At the same time, the ground below was torn as cracks appeared. The impact wreaked havoc as the bloody dragon disappeared in an instant as it turned into a bloody light. Xueqiando, who was staring at the scene before him, had his face instantly pale. At the direction that he was looking, Mu Chen did not move as he had maintained the posture when he sent that fist earlier. There was still liquid circulating on his arm. On his chest, lightning flickered as another lightning rune quietly appeared on top of the fifth. Mu Chen's lightning god's physique had undergone a breakthrough, reaching Hexa rune lightning physique. Lightning flickered as the long spear in Mu Chen's hand swiped horizontally with the spear tip tilting as the black tortoise seal landed on the spear tip. Mu Chen stood on the air. One of his arms had lightning liquid circulating as if the lightning rune was growing on his muscles as it emitted a fearsome power. The other was holding onto the devouring dragon demonic spear in a tilted angle as the spear tip had an ancient stone seal on it. On his chest, there were 6 lighting runes that vaguely appeared as rampant lightning energy flowed on his body. As his muscles twitched, the surrounding atmosphere exploded. The strength of his physical body had reached a fearsome degree. This was a sign that Mu Chen's lightning god's physique had reached Hexa rune lightning physique. It was the benefit that Mu Chen had obtained when he was in the Divine Wood Lightning Dipper. Ha! A white mist had lightning mixed in it as Mu Chen breathed out. Lightning flickered as Mu Chen's eyes seemed as if there were lightning born in them. They emitted an indescribable pressure as he looked at the pale-faced Xueqiando before him as he had an indifferent gaze. If he did not break through to Hexa rune lightning physique, he might not have the upper hand when he fought with Xueqiando. However, no one could have expected his lightning god's physique to break through when he was struck by the Divine Wood Lightning Dipper. Hexa rune lightning physique enabled Mu Chen to fight with any spirit disaster expert. Looks like you are unfated with this treasure. Mu Chen spoke as he lightly smiled. Xueqiando's gaze was dark as he stared at Mu Chen. However, underneath that darkness, there was a trace of fear. Since the start, he had never placed Mu Chen on the same level as him. However, he couldn't help changing that kind of view anymore. That was because he could sense pressure being emitted from Mu Chen's body. The latter's physical body was much stronger compared to before. To an extent that even he could not disregard. You are indeed capable to be able to cultivate your physical body to such an extent. Amongst those of the same generations that I have encountered, your physical body could be ranked in the top 10. Xueqiando said as his tone was cold. Mu Chen smiled in reply, thanks for your praise. However, Xueqiando's pupils seemed as if there were blood seas flowing in them as he slowly said, no matter how strong your physical body is, there is still a limit to it. When Mu Chen heard his words, he did not express his opinion on it. He shifted his gaze towards another direction. Despite the fact that Luo Li and Wen Qingxian had encountered obstructions, with the strength of the two girls, the obstructions that they both encountered was lighter compared to his own. Therefore, by the time he obtained the Black Tortoise seal, the two girls had already gotten the 2 treasures that he had chosen for them. Luo Li's hand had a green jade ruler with complicated runes on it. If one were to attentively look at it, one could see dense vitality being emitted from the jade ruler as it seemed like grass. Wen Qingxian, on the other hand, had a green wooden vine. The wooden vine was extremely simple, unadorned and had a smooth surface. It was similar to a green rope. Clearly, the 2 treasures in their hands weren't ordinary objects. From the appearance of them, they seemed even more shiny compared to the Black Tortoise seal that Mu Chen had obtained. When Luo Li and Wen Qingxian had successfully obtained the treasures, the 7 other treasures had already fallen in the hands of others. However, there was a limit to the treasures, after all, as most of the people there were empty-handed, which made them feel unwilling, but there was nothing that they could do. As the 10 treasures had fallen in the hands of others, the intense battles from before had settled down. However, anyone could feel the tense atmosphere as there were many eyeing gazes. The faces of Wang Zhong, Mo Yu and their group were the ugliest. When Mu Chen and Xue Qiando fought, they had targeted Luo Li and Wen Qingxian separately. However, the ending results could be seen. From a certain extent, the two girls had sharper means compared to Mu Chen. Despite the fact that they had given their all, they still lost to the two girls and ended up empty-handed. As for Wu Yingying and the 4C spiritual academies, they did not partake in the intense battles as they had their eyes on the other weaker 7 treasures. Therefore, they had gains from the battle. Although the treasures that they had obtained were peerless rank spiritual artifacts, they could still be considered as decent harvests. The atmosphere in this plaza became a little strange. Xue Qiando stared at Mu Chen, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian as light flickered in his eyes. If he was dealing with Mu Chen alone, he still had some confidence. However, with Luo Li and Wen Qingxian, even someone as prideful as him could only retreat. Mu Chen, aren't you guys a little too much? As Xue Qiando's eyes flickered, a cold voice resounded from a corner. Everyone directed their gazes over and saw Wang Zhong staring at Mu Chen with hatred. There are only 3 quasi-divine artifacts here and all 3 of them are seized by your group. Are you going to let us return empty-handed? Wang Zhong's words were rather vicious. After all, the demands exceeded the supply. With Mu Chen's group of 3 gathered together, their strength was rather powerful and not a single side could gain any advantage if they were to act. Therefore, he was trying to isolate Mu Chen's group. An uproar resounded in the entire plaza. Some people were unresigned as they couldn't help directing their gazes over to Mu Chen's group as fear and greed flickered in their eyes at the same time. Ha ha, brother Wang Zhong is right. Mu Chen, a person cannot be too greedy in case you'll die from bursting. Mo Yu coldly smiled at this instant as well. He had already originally hated Mu Chen. Adding on to Mu Chen's group of 3 seizing the 3 quasi-divine artifacts, he would naturally hit him when he's down. Mu Chen, looks like you have quite a bit of enemies here. Xue Qiando smiled as he looked at the scene before him in rumination. Mu Chen had no expression on his face, whereas Luo Li and Wen Qingxuan's faces turned a little cold. The 2 girls flew to Mu Chen's side as they swept their cold gazes. Friend, from the looks of it, it seems like you have some grudges with Mu Chen's group. Why don't we join hands for once? Wang Zhong's heart trembled when he saw Wen Qingxuan's cold gaze. He had too much fear for the latter and, therefore, he shifted his gaze and looked at Xue Qiando. That person's strength could not be underestimated, since he had already reached first-grade spirit disaster, judging from his battle with Mu Chen earlier. Ha ha, I'm rather interested in this. You can leave Mu Chen to me to deal with. Xue Qiando lightly smiled as he nodded his head. Wang Zhong's suggestion was what he had in mind. After all, he knew that it was difficult for him to deal with Mu Chen's group of 3 all by himself. Wang Zhong rejoiced at Xue Qiando's reply. He knew how hard Mu Chen was to deal with. The latter had defeated a first-grade spirit disaster when he was in the spiritual treasure mountain. Therefore, it was great news to him that Xue Qiando was willing to deal with Mu Chen. Ha ha, are the friends of Martial Spiritual Academy and the 4C Spiritual Academies interested to join in? I believe that the temptation of quasi-divine artifacts is sufficient, right? After pulling Xue Qiando to their camp, Wang Zhong looked at Wu Yingying, as well as the 4C Spiritual Academies. From the looks of it, he was obviously trying to pull people to deal with Mu Chen and his group together. When Wu Yingying and the 4 captains of the 4C Spiritual Academies heard his words, their faces changed a little that could not be noticed. Wu Yingying looked towards Mu Chen. The latter did not have any expression, but the lightning that was flickering on the surface of his body revealed the rage and killing intent in his heart. You have already pulled 2 parties to your camp. If you were to pull us along to snatch for the 3 quasi-divine artifact, how are we going to split amongst us? Are we going to fight another round? Wu Yingying said indifferently. Wang Zhong's face changed at her words because Wu Yingying's words were too sharp to the point that he didn't know how to refute. After all, there were only 3 quasi-divine artifacts and with Wang Zhong's character, it was impossible for him to return empty-handed. Therefore, there would still be a round of intense battles for the distribution of quasi-divine artifacts after dealing with Mu Chen. The 4 captains of the 4 Sea Spiritual Academies exchanged looks as they shook their heads in the end. Captain Wang Zhong, I apologize. We of the 4 Sea Spiritual Academies have no intention to join. Although quasi-divine artifacts are rare, since we have no fate to them, we will not force them. They rejected Wang Zhong's invitation as they saw that be it Mu Chen's group or Wang Zhong's group, none of them were easy to deal with. Although they had some strength, there wasn't any benefits in them partaking in the battle. Therefore, just as Wu Yingying had said, even after dealing with Mu Chen's group, it might not guarantee that they would get the quasi-divine artifacts. Who knows if all their efforts would be for naught and benefited others instead? Wang Zhong's expression was a little ugly as he couldn't help ruthlessly glancing at Wu Yingying. It was because the latter had picked such a point that caused the other party to withdraw their stirring hearts. Wu Yingying paid no attention to him as she folded her arms. An arc appeared on her squashed chest as she coldly swept a glance at Mu Chen and snorted, "If you guys want to fight, feel free to fight. When you guys are tired from fighting, I will naturally act." Mu Chen smiled as he gave a grateful gaze towards Wu Yingying. He knew that her words earlier had dispelled the thoughts for many people. However, Wu Yingying's face was still cold as she paid no attention to his grateful gaze. Wang Zhong's face was ashened as he coldly smiled, "It will still be enough without you guys." As he finished speaking, he waved his sleeve as a ray of light flickered. A huge statue appeared on the plaza. It was a divine wood guard. Furthermore, from the ripples emitted from that divine wood guard, its power did seem to be any weaker compared to the one in Mu Chen's possession. Mo Yu chuckled at the sight of it as he flicked his hand and another similar statue appeared. "Since everyone has summoned this thing, then I'll not stay my hands as well." Shui Qiando lazily smiled as he summoned another identical divine wood guard with a movement of his hand. The entire plaza was a little quiet as everyone directed their astonished gazes towards the 3 divine wood guard. Who could have expected that Wang Zhong's party would suddenly summon 3 first-grade spirit disaster puppets? Mu Chen looked at the 3 puppets as he focused his gaze. Seems like every single team that had obtained the divine wood plaque had also obtained a divine wood guard. Furthermore, from the formation, 3 of these divine wood guards would represent 3 first-grade spirit disaster puppets. By adding Shui Qiando, Wang Zhong and Mo Yu's party, this formation was rather troublesome to them. Seems like things have started to become thorny. 3 colossal divine wood guards stood on the plaza as the shadows from their huge bodies had covered the entire plaza. A formless pressure brought by them had caused many people's expressions to turn grave as fear filled their eyes. No one could have expected that Wang Zhong, Shui Qiando, and Mo Yu would have such powerful trump cards in their hands. A divine wood guard represented a first-grade spirit disaster expert. This strong entity was capable of defeating an elite team. And now, there were 3 of such divine wood guards. Many people directed their gazes over to Mu Chen's group of 3. However, they saw that Mu Chen's group of 3 did not panic. Clearly, they had already expected it. Excitement filled their hearts as they had a favorable opinion of Mu Chen, Luo Li, and Wen Qingxian. After all, Wen Qingxian was once the numero uno, so others couldn't help the fear in their hearts for her. But right now, there were 3 divine wood guards that broke this balance. 3 first-grade spirit disasters weren't easy to deal with. Seemed like there would be a genuine ferocious battle this time around. Ha ha. Mu Chen, looks like the situation isn't in your grasp all the time. Wang Zhong smiled as he looked at Mu Chen. 3 divine wood guards had boosted his confidence. He refused to believe that with such an overwhelming advantage, they still could not suppress Mu Chen and his group. Mu Chen did not have too many ripples on his face as he swept his gaze, before looking at Luo Li and Wen Qingxian as he softly said, "I'll deal with Shui Qiando." Amongst the 3, Shui Qiando was clearly the strongest. Fighting with him would most definitely be the hardest. Although Luo Li and Wen Qingxuan's strengths were rather alarming, this was something that a man had to do at this point of time. "Can you do it?" Wen Qingxian took a glance at Shui Qiando. That fellow was the most dangerous amongst the 3. Although Mu Chen had the upper hand during their previous battle and managed to seize the stone seal, a majority of it was due to his powerful physique that far surpassed the expectations of Shui Qiando. Now that the latter had preparations, victory would probably be much more difficult. Don't ask a man this sort of question. Even if he can't, he will still force his way up, said Mu Chen. When Qingxian was dazed for a brief moment. Shortly after, who knows where her trail of thoughts had led her as redness appeared on her fair skin as she ruthlessly stared at Mu Chen. Lecture. Mu Chen was dumbfounded. Thereafter, he figured it out and he couldn't help having a weird smile as he teased, I'm speaking about the problem of honor, what are you thinking? When Qingxuan's blush was comparable to the sunset's glow as she tightly gripped onto her golden war spear as she gritted her teeth, I dare you to ask again. Seeing as when Qingxian was about to explode, Mu Chen laughed and no longer teased her. The current situation wasn't too good, and if he were to cause Wen Qingxian to run from the anger, it would certainly be a headache for him. How are we going to divide them? Luo Li was already immune to the quarrel of them both as she helplessly reminded them of the situation before them. Leave Shui Qiando and his divine wood guard to me. Wen Qingxian coldly snorted as a chill surged in her phoenix-like eyes. Her face was filled with killing intent. Clearly, she was annoyed with those that dared to find her trouble. Did those fellows no longer fear her since they thought that she was no longer the numero uno? Luo Li took a glance at Wen Qingxian. She naturally knew that Shui Qiando was the hardest to deal with amongst the other party, and since Wen Qingxian chose him at the first hand, it had clearly loosened their pressure. Thereafter, Luo Li looked at Mu Chen. The latter was staring at Shui Qiando as he lightly shook his head. What's your opinion? Wen Qingxian said unhappily at the sight of his action. Can the both of you obstruct them for a period of time? Mu Chen said softly. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were startled as they looked at Mu Chen in doubt. However, the former quickly thought of something as her charming eyes focused. You're going to form a spiritual array. Mu Chen slowly nodded his head. Is your spiritual array reliable? Wen Qingxian couldn't help asking him. Just when that word was about to slip from her mouth, her face blushed as she quickly changed a word. Even more reliable than me? Mu Chen said seriously as he couldn't, but was about to laugh. Wen Qingxian rolled her eyes at him as she spoke lightly, since that's the case, then I'll believe you for once. Me and Luo Li will obstruct them. However, if your spiritual array doesn't have too much of an effect, I'll take charge of the situation next, and even you have to listen to my commands. Mu Chen was startled as he looked at the charming features of the girl before him and nodded with a smile. I will hurry up. Mu Chen nodded his head and, thereafter, he waved his hand and a similar divine wood guard appeared. This divine wood guard will share some of the burden, the two of you be careful. Luo Li and Wen Qingxian exchanged a glance as they nodded their heads. The two girls appeared on the two sides of the divine wood guard. One had a golden war spear in her hand, while the other had a longsword. Wind whistled as the hair of the two girls fluttered in the wind. That scene was extremely shaking to the core. Everyone in the plaza could not help having their eyes light up as they looked at the two slender girls. The two girls possessed unrivaled beauty, but their temperaments were different. When Qingxian held onto the war spear as her golden battle armor covered her exquisite figure and her fine hair dropped down to her waist. Her long and narrow phoenix-like eyes were flickering with coldness and pride. Her current appearance made her look like a war goddess that was emitting fearsome fighting spirit. Luo Li, on the other hand, stood towering as her longsword was held at a tilted angle. Her long azure dress tightly stuck to her soft body as her alluring curves were drawn out. Despite having outstanding beauty, her crystal-clear pupils were the most charming. They were clear, without any impurities, causing others to be drunk on her charm. Her fighting spirit wasn't as sharp as Wen Qingxuan's, but when her eyes slightly hung down, there was a trace of chill that flashed past. The two girls stood on the left and right of the divine wood guard. The breathtaking appearance made God knows how many people swallow their saliva. Thereafter, they all felt envy towards Mu Chen. How was that fellow so blessed to such an extent? Ha ha, you're planning to let the girls lead the fight. When Shui Qiando saw Luo Li, a strong possessive desire rose as he mocked while looking at Mu Chen's direction. Mu Chen wasn't bothered with his mockery as he sat down on the sky with indifference. When Shui Qiando saw that, his eyes flashed with a chill as he flicked with his finger and blood-red spiritual energy shot towards Mu Chen's direction. Shoo! An extremely sharp sword light swept past as it instantly shredded the spiritual energy. Luo Li's fingers rolled a strand of her long hair as she lightly stared at Shui Qiando. He doesn't have the time to be bothered with you right now. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Shui Qiando's face turned dark. HMPH, what a big tone from you. I know that the strength of the two of you isn't ordinary. However, aren't you indulging in your fantasy if you think that you can obstruct all of us? Wang Zhong coldly snorted. Even if Ji Xian is here, he wouldn't dare to speak as such to me. Who are you? When Qing Xian coldly laughed. Her disdainful tone made the corner of Wang Zhong's eyes twitch. Since that's the case, then I'll have to experience it. Mo Yu's eyes were cold when he looked at Mu Chen as he had guessed something. In an instant, his sleeves trembled as 3 streaks of light flew out. At the same time, Qin Feng and Liu Xiong both had 3 streaks of light shooting out separately. 9 streaks of light flew over as they expanded in size. They turned into 9 humanoid puppets. Those puppets were a little mottled with a faint green light on the surface of their bodies. On their bodies there were numerous savage scars, which seemed to have indicated that they suffered a huge battle in ancient time, causing them to be a little damaged. Despite being damaged, powerful ripples could be felt from their bodies. Although that degree could not be compared to the Divine Wood Guard, they were comparable to a spiritual energy disaster in strength. Mo Yu and his group still had such a trump card. Ha, thanks to you guys, although we did not obtain the treasure in the hidden spiritual courtyard, we found some puppets that were buried in that forest. Mo Yu coldly smiled. With 9 puppets with the strength of spiritual energy disaster, they could even fight with first-grade spirit disaster experts. No wonder Mo Yu and his group was not afraid when they saw Mu Chen again, so they had this kind of trump card. Bunch of scraps, why bother taking out to embarrass yourself? Faced with their pride, when Qing Xian only lightly swept a glance as her casual words made the faces of Mo Yu and his group ashen. Since you're so confident of yourself, then let us take a look at your skill. Shui Qiando's gaze was dark as he took a step forth. His blood river spiritual energy whistled out as it carried along a dense smell of blood and filled this heaven and earth. Wang Zhong issued a soft snort as he had also pushed his spiritual energy to the limits. Although it was weaker compared to Shui Qiando, it was still the strength of a first-grade spirit disaster. Mo Yu, Qin Feng, and Liu Xiong waved their sleeves as their 9 puppets, as well as the Divine Wood Guard, took a step forth. They formed a fan-shaped formation as they surrounded Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. At this instant, everyone held their breath at the sight of the formation as their hearts began to race. They, too, wished to know if those 2 fragile-looking girls could withstand the attacks of such a formation. Powerful spiritual energy swept out like a tornado as the powerful might from the spiritual energy made everyone in the plaza take a few steps back, fearing that they might be affected by the ripples of the battle. Shui Qiando and Wang Zhong both unleashed their strength as first-grade spirit disasters, whereas Mo Yu and his team of 3 controlled the 9 puppets as well as the Divine Wood Guard, as they stared at the opposition as prey. They surrounded Luo Li and Wen Qingxian in a fan shape as powerful pressure shrouded towards the 2 girls like tidal waves. HMPH. Wen Qingxian coldly snorted in disdain, facing the pressure as she held onto her war spear as brilliant golden light swept out from her body. Vaguely, one could hear the clear cry of a phoenix from the surging golden light. Luo Li, on the other hand, maintained a calm expression as ripples fluctuated from the hand that she used to hold onto the Luo God sword. A formless sharp sword intent was being emitted as it caused ripples to appear in the space. Let's go. Shui Qiando suddenly barked as his scarlet gaze fixed onto the 2 girls. Boom! Boundless spiritual energy instantly exploded similar to a volcano. The 3 Divine Wood Guards were the first to move as they charged forward with their quaking steps. Their fists flickered with green light as they tore through the sky and targeted the 2 girls standing on the shoulders of the opposing Divine Wood Guard. Buzz! A clear sword cry rang out in this heaven and earth as everyone could see an eye-stinging brilliance of sword light bursting forth from Mu Chen's location. Within the sword light, there was an indescribable sword intent contained, as if it could pierce through the heavens and earth. Rustle. Sword light gathered and instantly turned into 3 sword images the size of roughly 300 meters. Luo Li's long hair that was originally bundled up had dropped down at this instant and looked like a silvery river that flowed down her waist. Her jade-like hand-formed sword seals and her crystal-clear pupils seemed as if there was a sword river flowing in them. Luo God Sword Art, forming sword image. Luo Li's slender fingers pointed out as the 3 sword images swept out while whistling. In a rustle, they had tore the space as they stabbed towards the fists of the 3 divine wood guards. Bang! The huge fists and sword images heavily clashed as a sharp sword aura swept out, causing the surrounding space to be twisted. When the sword aura had dispersed, the 3 divine wood guards' charge was stopped as deep sword marks were left behind on their metallic fists. Fortunately, those divine wood guard did not have any sensation of pain. Otherwise, blood would be flowing down from them, if they were someone else. Everyone couldn't help staring at that scene as they looked at the slender figure with their eyes filled with astonishment. Those were 3 divine wood guards, whose strengths were comparable to first-grade spirit disasters. But, right now, they were stopped by a sword from Luo Li, not allowing their colossal bodies to move half a step forward. Some people inwardly smacked their lips. Previously, they saw how powerful Mu Chen was and they had also heard of some rumors regarding Luo Li. Thus, they did not dare to belittle her. However, no one could have expected that this quiet beauty that stood beside Mu Chen would possess such fearsome strength. Just that previous attack alone was even stronger compared to Mu Chen from before. At the rear, Shui Qiando, Wang Zhong and Mo Yu's group were startled by Luo Li's sharp attacks. Mo Yu clenched his teeth as the 9 puppets flew out. The 9 puppets held war lances as they turned into streaks of light. They were flashing from the rear of the Divine Wood Guard as they unleashed their torrential attacks towards Luo Li. I have said previously not to embarrass yourself with these scraps of metal. Seeing the 9 puppets charging out, a cold voice resounded as a brilliant golden light swept out. A golden war spear was like a golden phoenix as it swept out along with extremely powerful spiritual energy. The spear light flickered as it pierced through a puppet. Furthermore, that fearsome strength had even sent the puppet flying. At the same time, the remaining gale swept towards the other 8 puppets. Bang! When the puppet that was pierced through flew away, it powerlessly fell down as the spiritual energy was drained, shattering into fragments. Rustle. The golden war spear flew back as it returned to Wen Qingxuan's hand. She swept her phoenix-like gaze as her cold stare fixed onto Shui Qiando and the rest that were at the rear. Shui Qiando's face was dark. The surrounding spiritual energy around him had been brewed to the limits as the redness in his eyes grew stronger. He made a gripping action as a scarlet-red long spear appeared in his hand. That spear was especially red in color as there were drops of blood falling off of it. A sinister energy was being emitted from it. Boom! Shui Qiando heavily stomped his feet as the air beneath his feet exploded. His figure had appeared before Wen Qingxian at an astonishing speed as his blood-red long spear aimed at the latter's neck at a tricky angle. HMPH. Wen Qingxian coldly snorted as she did not attempt to avoid Shui Qiando's attacks. Her hand jolted as her golden war spear stabbed out. Golden light expanded as if it was a phoenix that had appeared from within the spear, showing how tyrannical it was. Ding! The spear tips accurately clashed together as ripples fluctuated throughout the space. The layers of the surrounding space exploded. Shui Qiando's face was exceptionally grave as he could feel the spiritual energy ripples contained in the golden war spear. Faced with the waves-like spiritual energy, he had also pushed his power to the limits. Despite that, he still could not shake it in the slightest. The strength of the girl before him had far surpassed his imagination. Shui Qiando's eyes flickered as blood light surfaced and his figure mysteriously disappeared. Rustle. When he reappeared, he had mysteriously appeared behind Wen Qingxian. The long spear bolted out as it aimed at the back of the latter at lightning speed. Sissy. The long spear pierced through the back of Wen Qingxian. However, there wasn't any flow of blood as that figure gradually disappeared. After image? Shui Qiando's pupils abruptly shrank. Wen Qingxuan's speed was actually fast to such an extent? It had even surpassed his blood god shadow? Boom! A tyrannical gale swept out from behind him. Shui Qiando quickly turned around to defend in haste as it moved the body of his spear before him as it withstood the golden war spear like a pole. Bang! Sparks flew as a powerful energy surged forth from the body of his spear. The impact made Shui Qiando feel pain on the webs on his hand as his figure flew out in a terrible state for a few hundred meters before he could stabilize himself. The surroundings were in an uproar. Everyone had witnessed the fight Shui Qiando previously had with Mu Chen. Mu Chen only had the upper hand after rounds of intense battle. But right now, Wen Qingxian already held the upper hand in just an exchange. The title of numero uno of the ranking board was not in vain. Wen Qingxian stood on the air as usual after she had beaten Shui Qiando back. Her charming face was filled with dense fighting intent as her golden battle armor emitted dazzling light. She seemed like a living war goddess from the pride in her eyes, which made others feel a rush of excitement and felt intimidated, not daring to be profane. Her rosy lips rose as she looked at Shui Qiando. However, there was a smear of astonishment that flashed past her eyes. The strength of Shui Qiando had also surpassed her expectations. No wonder Mu Chen could not deal with him in a short time. That fellow's strength was much stronger compared to ordinary first-grade spirit disasters. Shui Qiando had no expression on his face as he loosened his numb palm. Thereafter, he tightly gripped his scarlet-red long spear as bloodlust surged forth from his eyes. Everyone, do not lay your hands. They are trying to delay time so Mu Chen can prepare his finishing move. Shui Qiando resounded in a cold tone. Hearing his words, Wang Zhong and the rest directed their gazes towards the rear. Naturally, they saw Mu Chen sitting on the sky. But not knowing when, there was a frightening amount of spiritual energy ripples being emitted as light intertwined. It was clearly a formidable spiritual array taking form. That's the Lesser Thousand Sword spiritual array, Mo Yu said, gritting his teeth as his expression changed. He naturally knew that before entering the Divine Wood Palace ruins, Mu Chen had obtained a rather formidable spiritual array diagram. He knew how frightening it was if Mu Chen had managed to lay that spiritual array. Let's attack with our best. The three people exchanged a glance as their hands swept out of their sleeves. The three Divine Wood Guard charged out without fear. This time, the Divine Wood Guards did not have any defense as they unleashed their attack in a rampant manner. Even if they risked having them destroyed, they still had to drain the strength of Luo Li and Wen Qingxian. The 8 other puppets also charged forth as they unleashed erratic attacks. Facing those puppets that knew no pain or fear, Luo Li and Wen Qingxian were tangled up for a moment as well. Shui Qiando and the other two looked at the fight as they formed seals with their hands. The seal changes they made were blurred to the naked eyes. Dense green light suddenly spread out from their palms as they released astonishing ripples. That's... When Wu Yingying saw the powerful ripples from the surroundings of those three, her charming eyes froze as well as she spoke in graveness. Those three are actually unleashing divine arts. Furthermore, their divine arts seem to be from the same origin. Wu Yingying furrowed her brows as she saw the intention of those three, before her face turned even more solemn. Boom! Boom! Rampant spiritual energy ripples exploded from the three people, and in the next instant, all three of their gazes turned sharp as they pushed their palms out. A brilliant green luster swept the heavens and earth as they shrouded towards the two girls. At the same time, a deep bark resounded from the heavens and earth like thunder. Lesser divine art, divine dragon sealing stake. Lesser divine art, heavenly wood mountain. Lesser divine art, divine wood binding vine. This episode ends here. Thank you for watching.